Hey there, I'm Lisa Niven Kelly here for Beaducation.com, and in this video we are going to teach you how to make basic ear wires. You got to learn how to make your own basic ear wires. We're going to show you a couple of different designs, and just keep in mind that we shot this class as a Facebook live show, so you'll hear us chatting to each other and chatting to customers and such, but we've edited it here for you to keep archived on our website and on YouTube. Hope you enjoy it. If you're watching on YouTube and you're digging it, give us a thumbs up, maybe consider subscribing, and let's get into it. Okay, my friends, so this is super straightforward, and we are gonna just talk about the basic ear wires. Let me zoom in on them right here. In the comment section of this post, I've put a link to our earwire class where we go a little more in depth into these designs, how to make earwires with a bead on it. I think we even go into how to make a bald head earwire, bald pin earwire like this guy. This is just, we just happen to have this sitting here because Mel just bought some. And you can see there's a little ball on the head. Let me scoot this over for you. We're not going to go over that today, but so this is like a ready-made pair that you can buy, made like this, easy peasy, awesome. But if you wanted to make your own because maybe you like them bigger, like Mel was just saying, right, Mel, you really like a bigger ear wire.
Well, and I also think that whenever you see one in a photograph online, you're never really sure how big it is.
Yeah.
And everybody likes different sizes depending on, everybody has different lobes.
Yeah, even if we listed the size, it's kind of hard to tell.
Right, and you don't really know what your size ear is lobe-wise. I mean, most people don't. So it's kind of nice that this way you can make it exactly the size you want to.
So for these, I use a 20 gauge wire. 20 gauge is the most common gauge used for ear wires. It just fits well in the ear lobe hole, and it's comfortable. 18 gauge can get a little much, and 22 I definitely feel is too fine. So we sell 20 gauge wire in dead soft and now half hard. I like to use dead soft for almost everything I do because I can harden it if I need to, but it's harder to soften something. The only reason we carry half hard in just this gauge is for ear wires specifically. So if I was doing like a spiral or a coil or something, I would not use half hard. It's just going to fight against you. But since you're doing pretty simple, you know, maneuvering here and you want it to keep its shape, half hard is kind of awesome for ear wires. So,
you know, Jenny mentioned something that I think is a good point. Sometimes you need a bigger ear wire when your hole is further from the edge of the blank.
Yes.
So you want your actual loop to be a larger loop. Yeah.
That is a good point. And we can show you how to do that. So I'm just working with chain nose, cutter, and round nose. I work with Tronex, but I think I've put a link in the comments to our more, I don't want to say economy line because it makes it sound cheap, but the red handle ones are less expensive and they're really awesome. The Tronex and Lindstroms I like equally. I just happen to have these sitting here. They're really good pliers, so I just wanted to give you those options. But you definitely, like always with wired work, need a chain nose that are very pointy and don't have any like lines or mars inside the jaw, or it'll just chew up your wire. Round nose for this, you could use short or long. I just happen to have long, so I'm going to use those, and just a flush cutter. Okay, so super organized people would like cut the wire first at the same lengths to make sure that it's equal, and I just don't do that. But if you were wondering, like, well, how much wire does it take? What I would do is I would measure more than I know it will take, like maybe 4 inches, make a kink there, and then make my ear wire, cut it off, and see how much I have left. So if there's an inch left, I know my ear wire took me 3 inches.
Oh, that's good.
That's just if you did want to pre-cut or you were trying to budget, that sort of thing. Are the comments working all right? So you see what I'm doing here. I didn't realize it. It's just out of habit. I do this to strengthen the wire and to straighten the wire. You always want to start with a flush cut. So I'm going to take the flush side of my cutters. Let's see if I can get a little closer without losing the focus. Is that good still?
Okay. Now it came in, yep.
You want to take the flush side of your cutters and just cut a little bit off. Then you're starting with the flush cut. Actually, I'm going to zoom back out just a teeny bit. And then with your round nose, it's just like making a basic loop. The very first step, the first thing I'm going to do is this tiny loop. Okay. So deciding what size you want this tiny loop, let me pull it back in. That is important because now that will determine where you are on your round nose. So if you wanted a really big loop, obviously you'd go to a thicker part of your round nose. You can see my marks on here. Those are loops I probably was doing a chain or something, but let's just go with that one dirty mark there. I'm going to hold it in here so you can't feel it on top. Again, this is like making a basic loop. I'm going to roll it away from myself while pushing my wire against the tool. Open it up so I have free movement, but don't scoot down to a smaller part. Stay on that. Roll away from you, come back, and keep rolling until it touches and I have a P. Yeah? So this point is also where you need to decide how big you want this, the part that's going to sit in your ear.
Now, let me ask you this, just to interrupt. If you wanted to put a bead right there, could you put the bead on now and then do your loop?
It's a whole different deal.
Okay,
if you're going to put a bead on, you have to kink this to center it.
Okay.
And then put the bead on and then kink it and do a whole different thing. It just flows differently, but it's doable. And yes, good point. That is exactly when you have to do this. So check out the linked class if you want to see how to add a bead. So I like the middle or larger step on the medium wrap and tab. It seems to work well for me. Let's do the medium step and see how that looks. So hang on a second. Let me get this in the right position. I don't usually hold it like this, but you want to turn the P away from yourself. There we go. See that? And then the wire is going to bend here. So whether you have it facing this way and you're rolling away from you, just know that the loop has to happen right here. And I bring it around till it touches, and then you've got this nice shape.
So that's easy to remember. You want the P away from you. No P on me.
No P on me. Well, that's if you're curling towards yourself. If you're rolling away from yourself, which is better ergonomic movement, then the P has to point towards you. Okay. So I was just finagling, or I was just kind of like fiddling with how to hold it. But yeah, no P on me. All right, so now we're set with that. Cut it the length that you want. I usually go, I don't know, like centimeter below the loop, and you want to have the flush side of your cutter again facing there and trim it off. And we're going to make sure that that's straight and deal with the end later. So I'm going to make the second one now, and this is just from memory. I have to make sure I do everything the same I did on this one. That's how I do it. There's a way more organized way to do it. Actually, wait, last time I cut the wire was a flush cut, so now I need to cut again here, because with the cutter you'll get a flush cut from one side, but the other side will leave it a little pointy. So that's why I always start, good habit, with a flush cut. So I'm going to go a little quicker now, roll until it touches. I'll show you the other way this time, so the P's towards me. Put it on the middle there and roll.
Now, if someone didn't have like the wrap and tab, they could use like a pen or something?
Yeah, okay. I'll show that. So here I've got a Sharpie sitting. Can you hand me that Sharpie?
Sure.
Yeah, you just need something round that is about the size that you want. So if I wanted, like this is all I had, just hold it. You kind of have to bend this part down first, the loop that way, and then just hold it and bring it around.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's obviously a little bit bigger than those, but that looks like it's maybe the bigger step of the wrap and tab. If you want to make a really big one, I use the large wrap and tab. That's this guy, and I think I made that loop.
That's pretty too.
Yeah, on the smaller step. Okay, so
I think that works, but it is really tough if you put it on a small disc. Like if your disc, if you're what's hanging, or what you're hanging isn't as heavy as the ear wire, I think it tends to move around more.
Yeah,
on your ear.
That's a good point. So these guys, what I do at this point is make sure they're the right length. And they look like they are. I can take a little bit off of this one.
And you were using the medium wrap and tap when you used the middle round to make both of those. Okay, because that was a question we had.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I cut it too short, but that's okay. So then, you know, most ear wires, and it helps just stay in your ear, has this little bend at the end. You can do that with a chain nose or a round nose. I'll show you the difference. Here's a round nose. You just give it a little beep, right? Chain nose, it's going to look the same because I'm not pushing really hard against the wire. Beep.
And you have to make that sound when you do it, right?
Yep, it is important. Okay, so now I have the basic shape. So you want to look at it from like this angle and make sure everything's straight, which it isn't. In which case, that's when I would probably bring in a bench block and the plastic mallet. This is going to help. Here, let me scoot this away. This is going to help flatten it, but it also hardens it, which is really important because I actually started today with dead soft wire. So by using a plastic or rawhide mallet, you're not going to flatten the wire, you're just going to harden it. But now everything's flat. Let me flip it over. And I do hit it a bunch of times to harden it till I feel like it's springy enough. That's pretty springy. But another thing I'll do is just hold it. And this is the main part that I want to harden. So I'll just...
And is that just because that's the part that's opening up and back and forth more?
Yep, that's right. So that, see how that's bouncing back? That's what you want. You don't want to pull it and have it just flop open. Let's do the other one too. Cool. Okay, so the only other step here is to make sure that the pointy end of the ear wire isn't so pointy that it's painful.
Let me ask you, just in case folks were wondering, the reason you'd use the plastic or a rawhide mallet instead of using like a stamping hammer is why?
Oh, like instead of a chasing hammer or something? It's because you don't, well, sometimes I actually flatten up here because I like the look, but your goal here is not to flatten it. And by using a metal hammer on your metal with metal underneath, the wire will flatten. You definitely can to a little bit. It looks nice, but if you flatten it too much, it's going to become thin and kind of sharp in your ear. It will harden it more than the plastic mallet, but that's why sometimes I'll do just this part a little bit flat. I think it's a nice look, and then it makes it like really hard.
Okay.
So on the edge here, you can use a couple different things. You can just use a regular old file. And sometimes it's just fine. Like this really isn't sharp at all, but sometimes I'll use a file. This one's a little beefier than I would use, but it's what I had. And I'll just lightly come in and I'm kind of taking the edge off. And maybe I'll hit it with some sandpaper. That feels much better. Or this is called a wire rounder. It's got a cup burr at the top. You can see that that's a little cup. I don't know, let's see, I'm probably gonna lose zoom here, but or focus, but let's try. Can you see that?
It's a little out of focus.
So
there we go. Yeah.
Inside that little cup, there are like some file cuts so that you can take the edge of your wire, put it in the little cut.
That's so cute.
And I kind of go like this as I'm spinning, and I'm free spinning because that's how this works. So what that's doing is, like the name, it's rounding the wire.
So when you free spin, you're not doing it to music. You're just kind of like freestyling.
I should though. In my head. In my head. So those are the super basic ones. What do you think?
Those are so cute. And people are saying that's so doable, that you're making it look so easy.
It's actually really fast. I'm going slow for you guys, but it's super fast. So now I just wanted to show these because they're my favorite, and they're the ones that I usually make.
Cute.
A lot of it is done the same except the very first step. So let me get more wire. All right, so to start out, I'm going to give it a cut, flush cut. And the first thing I'm going to do here is build this spiral. Now this is a closed loop spiral, so where most of you have maybe, and I have a link in the comments to how to make a spiral, perfecting the spiral, but some of you maybe have started your spiral with a round nose. I'm going to start with a chain nose because I'm not interested in getting a nice perfect loop in there. I want like a little bent over kink. So I'm going to grab the least amount of the wire that I can with the smallest part of my chain nose. I'm just going to kink it over like that. See that little kink? Mm-hmm. Actually, I want to go a little further. Oh, I lost the tip there.
Super kinky.
You're funny. So now, actually, hang on. I keep missing. There we go. So now I'm going to take that kink and I'm going to squish it. So it's like just a little closed thing in there. See that?
Mm-hmm. Little flamingo head.
And that is what I'm going to base my spiral around. So that's what I'm going to hold flat within the jaw of my pliers. And now And oftentimes the inside, that little kink ends up pretty flat.
Oh, it sure did.
You have to really, and again, I'm using soft wire, but you have to really squeeze it quite hard to get it to stay still while you're forming your spiral. So there's my little spiral there. I like it to come around like and point at itself. I squeezed way too hard. I've got this camera in front of me like always.
I actually kind of like it though. It almost looks kind of like it's all together.
Yeah, and if it ends up like this one is a little like I squeezed too hard, there's like a mark, I would come in with my chasing hammer at this point and hammer it flat so that it looks fine before I go and shape the rest of it.
Or make a mark on your second one in the same spot.
Oh yeah, that's easy. So on this one, to make this loop, I'm just going to come in a pretty small spot and bring it around like that. See that?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty bright light here. So now I've got, you can see what's happening here. I've got that part. And now I'll come in with this guy again and treat it just like I did the other time, where if the P is pointing towards yourself, you're going to roll away from yourself.
Oh, come back down a little bit. There you go.
Thank you. See? Now on this one, I probably used a larger part. Maybe I used this guy up here. Let's see what that looks like. See the difference there?
Yeah.
So with this one, I would hammer it again, but I kind of squeeze within my chain nose, make sure everything is flat. I'll do the little mark.
That really does look cute though. I kind of like how it's a little something special.
Yeah. I really like that. Now, sometimes though, if you're putting on something that doesn't have a jump ring, like something that just has a hole in it, it's going to be hard to get it on by going this way, where like, well, let's talk about that now. If you wanted to put something on here, you open it like a jump ring, slide it in. But on this dude, you'd open it like a jump ring and come all
from behind.
the way
Sure,
around.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Now just tell folks, because I have people have asked me this before, why you wouldn't open it the other way. You know, rather than side.
Oh, because you'll distort it. You'll lose your roundness. So it's like, let me do it with my hand.
Because I've seen people do it before and I always go, oh gosh, no. Because then it might...
And if you do, I think on this one, if you do that and you end up with a teardrop shape, it's not the end of the world because it will still look good, but make sure the other one you do the same thing.
Right.
But let's say this is your ring. If you open and close like this, you're going to retain the shape. See that? If you open and close like this, likely when you go to close it, you end up with that.
And like you said, it is hard to get both of them looking the same distortion.
Totally.
Yeah. So off to the side.
Yeah. So I have these. This is a sample I made earlier. So cute. Look at these little bees.
Oh my gosh, I do love them.
Let me get that zoom action happening again. And they're earrings, and they need ear wires.
So cute. And the bee is going to the wildflowers.
I know. It's so cute. I think I'll put the little sassy ones on there.
I like that.
Don't you think?
Yes.
So let's do that. I'm going to open this up. I always mess this up. I'm sure it's going to come in wrong, but...
What do you mean?
Well, like, I always forget, like, do I put it in this way or this?
Oh, I've done that many times too. Yes, yes.
So I'm going to bring it around and try to scoot it past that guy. See? I did it wrong.
Oh, yeah. I do that all the time as well.
So we actually want to go in this way. Now, just like closing a jump ring, I'm just going to bring that back and make sure that everything is set. What I really like about these is it gives something interesting to look at from the side.
Yes, you're right.
To your left and right.
You're right.
Cute though, right?
I love those.
I love these little bee charms. We just turned them on. We've got them in, it's silver plate, gold plate, and then the big one we have in copper. And we have some smaller ones too.
I like how you have enough room in the loop too, that there's movement with the charm. Because you know how sometimes if people try and stick an ear wire where it's too small and then the earring is stiff.
No movement. That's a good point. You want to have, and that's another benefit to making your own.
I agree.
Is you can have that loop exactly like you want it. So now I have some earrings.
Sassy. Perfect for spring.
Hee hee.
Very cute.
Little bees. Okay, guys, we are going to sign off.
Go make some ear wires.
Thanks again for stopping by and spending your day with us. Bye.
Bye.